Hi everybody, Sandra Duran Wilson here, and welcome to this week's Mixed Media Soul Sparks. Every week I bring you mixed media techniques, painting tips, inspirational ideas, whatever else pops into my head. So thanks for joining me this week. And I want to talk to you today about edges. And edges are probably one of the most important parts of your painting when you think about it. And it's like, how do you delineate what imagery you're looking at, whether it's realistic or abstract? It's where two things meet. It's the edges. So you can have hard edges, you can have soft edges, you can have fading away edges, you can have bright edges, dark edges. So it's really important to understand how to get all these different edges. Now, today I'm just going to show you a couple of different ways. And I am going to begin with some of these backgrounds I already have around. And let me just show you this one. This is a very heavily textured piece, and I have created soft edges here. And I want to start to bring in a harder edge to that. And there are a couple of ways to do that. And I can use, these are Pitt Pens, which are archival pens. You could also use just a brush and paint, but this is a brush tip. So I'm able to get a harder edge. This is not super hard edge because it is a brush tip, and I'll show you what I mean by the hardest edge. I guess the hardest edge would be if you're actually collaging something on top because you have this difference of space. But the difference I'm getting here is more about the light and the dark. Because I'm working up with this brush pen and I'm kind of going over the same area, it's making this area darker. So that's going to read as a harder edge than a soft diffused edge like that. So now you can kind of see that difference. What if I wanted a soft edge? What are some of the ways? Well, first of all, let me just show you an example of another hard edge. This is a hard edge because I have put a stencil on and I've used a paste to go through that stencil, and it's creating this super hard edge because I've got this background going. So that's another way to get a hard edge. Okay, let's look at the soft edges. This is a soft edge, and it's done using a foam stamp like this. Let me just come in here. This is just a white paint. It's a heavy body white, but I decided to use the heavy body because the fluid paint really soaks into the sponge a lot. And this, I think, will work a little better. So let's say I want to come back in here and I want to change this edge a bit. So do you see I'm using this sponge? Now that was really thick. What if I say, oh, well, that's too thick. I want to take some of that off. So I can just blot it off. Now I've interestingly got that pattern from the towel. But look at what happens when I rub it off. I get a soft edge. Now if I want to blot some of this paint off on my plate, that's another way I can do it. I can come back in now, and I'm actually kind of rolling it around. I'm not pressing it in so hard, and I get a very different kind of edge. And that's pretty much how I did this edge, but I came in with a darker color. So let's try that. Let me see if I can get a lot of this white off. And come back in. Let's go here with this brown. And I'm going to use this side since it doesn't have the white paint. And now I'm going to come around just using my edge. And I'm starting to build up these edges. And you see how it begins to give it depth. And that's a very different edge. I can come back over on top of this one. So it's this layering with the foam. It's kind of a soft edge, but yet a hard edge at the same time because I've got both of them going on. Let me just stick that in the water. So we've got this hard edge. I want to show you another hard edge. This is actually kind of another hard edge of just using a metallic pen underneath. Now these are transfers, so a transfer or collage is going to give you a hard edge. Let's say if I wanted to make a hard edge that moves into a more diffused edge. This is where I'm going to use like this Cosmetic sponge and just a piece of copy paper. Now here it's important just to load this up. Let's say I'm going to do it from, I already have an edge here, but let's just move this up here and say I want to bring my edge so it's matching, meaning this was a little higher than the other side. I'm going to keep picking up the white paint. So I'm starting with the most paint at the edge of this paper. And then I'm just going to keep tapping up into here. And you see how now I have a nice hard edge there where it starts to fade away. I could do the same into here. I could start to fade out edges. And let me look at one other piece. It might be more effective for you to see. Because I've got all this texture on here. So what if I want to create a hard edge fading out like what we did? I'm just going to do it right in here. And I want this part to really just be my edge. And then I want this to fade out. You want to keep rotating this sponge so that you're not going to have that square shape. And this is a very textured surface, so you need something soft like this sponge. You can come back in with a paper towel and start to rub some off too. And then you remove this and you see what a hard edge you get. So that's one way to do it. I could come back in and start to integrate it, diffuse it, or I could wait for this to dry and then I could glaze it so it's not going to feel so stark. So one other quick thing about how to get a soft edge, and a lot of that can have to do with your surface. And there is a panel here that I had started, and this is an Encausticbord from Ampersand, and you can see that this would definitely be a soft edge. The surface on this is it's very absorbent and very, it's one of my favorite surfaces to work on because you can really layer things on, you can scrape things back, you can do all kinds of stuff to it. But look at how the paint moves on that surface. And this is just water on here. So as I spray that on, this is definitely a soft edge. Just move it with my finger. And depending on the viscosity, now as I let this move down into here, see how that beautiful color just tones that. So I'm working with all of these soft edges. Let's say I bring another two colors together. There's the purple, and let's bring this white. And this is fluid, that's a high flow. So let's see what happens when these two edges start to come and meet. And I'm going to introduce some water. And And just look at this. Can you see this tiny little detail of how this paint comes together? And if you tilt your panel, you're going to see that purple is flowing more into the white. So here you're working with viscosity of paint. One is a thinner viscosity, one's a thicker viscosity. And this is another type of edge. So this is kind of a blending of a hard and a soft edge where they meet. So lots of different wonderful ways to get edges. And I think a painting becomes most interesting when you have some areas of hard edge and soft edge. And really, I mean, when you look at this one, you've got both the soft edge, you've got the hard edge, you've got things that are overlapping. I've taken a pen into here or a brush and added a hard edge. So think of the edges when you're working, and some of the edges fade out like this. So all of those edges are contributing to the composition of your painting, and wonderful ways of, oh, let's go back and look at this one, how that's starting to flow into there. One of my favorite ways of getting some interesting edges. So hard edges, soft edges, edges that are meeting, fading out edges, stenciled edges, additions, transfers, collage. It can go on. So thank you for joining me this week, and I look forward to seeing some of the things you might create. So make sure you post them in the Awakening Your Creative Soul Facebook page. Check out my classes on the website, and please, if you like the video, click like and share it. And I will see you next week. Thanks for joining me. Join the community and share your creations on social. Use the hashtag MixedMediaSoulSparks. I look forward to seeing your comments in the comment section.